Hello everyone. Welcome back to Improved Version, a channel dedicated to sharing profound knowledge on holistic personal development through the lens of the world's greatest books. Today, I would like to share with you an incredibly useful and life-changing psychology book called Don't Try to Please Anyone. In our modern life, there's a very common yet exhausting personality type that many of us fall into without even realizing it: the people pleaser. People with an ingratiating or people-pleasing personality often live in a constant state of low-level anxiety. They fear rejection above all else, and they are terrified of displeasing others, even if it means sacrificing their own thoughts, their own time, or their most basic needs. They are so incredibly hard on themselves that they eventually forget how to listen to their own true feelings. On the surface, this behavior might look like genuine concern and deep consideration for others, but deep down, it is actually a painful denial of the self. The famous psychologist Karen Horney once profoundly said that the inability to be oneself is the very root of all despair. The habit of constantly pleasing others leads us to live in a state of permanent inner conflict, which increasingly distances us from our true nature and our potential for happiness. So, how do you know if you're caught in that suffocating trap? And more importantly, how do you find the strength to get out? This book offers a comprehensive and brilliant overview of 8 characteristic behavioral patterns that define the likable personality type. The following analysis reveals the deep-seated root causes of these behaviors, while simultaneously offering practical, feasible, and sustainable solutions for change. This is a form of self-help therapy that helps you clearly identify your external behaviors and the invisible fears that drive them, thereby strengthening your inner core. When you learn to love yourself more, you will find that life becomes more free, authentic, and comfortable, just as the Buddha taught. Before you can truly love others, you must first learn to love yourself. Now, please settle in and listen to today's sharing. Before starting any kind of psychological work or therapy, we first need to objectively assess whether we possess a personality that habitually seeks to please others. The author has carefully listed 26 specific behaviors. If you find that you exhibit fewer than 8 of these behaviors, you're almost certainly not the type of person who tries to please others. Or perhaps you do so only at a very minor level that doesn't interfere with your well-being. If you exhibit between 9 and 17 of these behaviors, you're likely someone who has been trying to win people over for a long time, often at your own expense. However, if you exhibit between 18 and 26 of these behaviors, you belong to the group of people who are masters at pleasing others, often to the point of total self-exhaustion. So, what exactly are those 26 behaviors? First, it is the intense fear of refusing others. You're afraid they will get angry or think less of you if you say no. Second, there's a deep fear of upsetting anyone. When you sense someone else is unhappy, you immediately feel uncomfortable and responsible for their mood. Third is the constant worry that a relationship, whether it's a friendship or a romance, will completely fall apart if you don't agree with every single thing your partner says. Fourth, you spend your days trying to meet the needs of so many different people that you're left feeling physically tired and emotionally helpless. Fifth, you find yourself always going along with others' plans, never daring to express your own true thoughts or preferences. Sixth, people describe you as having an exceptionally gentle temperament, but you feel that you lack a strong or assertive personality. Seventh, you follow every rule and obey every order perfectly, never feeling brave enough to challenge them. Eighth, you have many friends on paper, but you don't feel their genuine affection or support when you truly need it. 9th, you're terrified of making requests for yourself because you fear the sting of rejection. 10th, when someone actually treats you with kindness, you don't know how to react, and you might even feel an odd sense of guilt as if you don't deserve it. 11th, you have deep-seated feelings of inferiority that make you afraid to take bold actions. 12th, if you don't receive constant recognition from others, you feel like you haven't done well enough. 13th, you have an overwhelming fear of isolation and a desperate desire for everyone to see you as a good person. 14th, you lack clear personal boundaries, often taking on too much responsibility for the lives and emotions of people around you. 15th, no matter what you do, you find yourself seeking someone's approval before you can truly feel at ease. 16th, you use excessively high, almost impossible moral standards to judge and impose on yourself. 17th, you have a fear of competition and a general unwillingness to make firm decisions. 18th, you always try to keep a fake smile on your face, even when you're hurting inside. 19th, you never allow yourself to get angry and you never speak up for yourself, even when you're being attacked or treated unfairly. 20th, you avoid competition at all costs and always prefer to play the weaker, more submissive role. 21st, you frequently feel a general sense of anxiety that you cannot explain. 22nd, you suppress your emotions so deeply that you no longer dare to express them even to yourself. 23rd, you have a mindset that certain human desires or traits should not exist in you. 24th, you always sacrifice your own needs for others, telling yourself that this is a great virtue called dedication. 25th, you constantly overanalyze your actions and believe that you're never good enough. And finally, 26th, you have a conflicted inner self, unsure how to choose a path that satisfies both your own soul and the expectations of others. These are the 26 points to help you determine if you're sacrificing your own life to win the favor of others. Self-awareness will always be the most beautiful and necessary starting point for living authentically. When you look deeper into your inner self, you'll realize that many of these behaviors are just masks. In the rhythm of our daily lives, people with this personality type often unconsciously repeat familiar behaviors that they rarely even realize they are performing. Next, I will share 8 of the most typical and destructive behavioral patterns. The first behavior is feeling profound insecurity when refusing others. The book describes a case of a female employee named Sarah. At the end of the year, Sarah was completely overwhelmed with a massive workload. Just as she was about to drown in her tasks, a colleague who was also a close friend came to her and asked for help with an urgent project. Hearing her friend's flattering words, Sarah immediately found herself in a painful dilemma. On one hand, she was already failing to keep up with her own work, but on the other hand, she was terrified that refusing her friend would permanently damage their relationship. This is a typical example of how people pleasers feel insecure when rejecting others. So, what is the psychology behind this? The answer is fragility. People who are afraid to refuse others often perceive the world as a house of cards. They think other people are extremely fragile. If I say no, they will be sad or angry. They think they themselves are fragile. If someone gets angry at me, I will shatter. And they believe the relationship itself is fragile. It cannot survive a single disagreement. This feeling of fragility often comes from a childlike state. When we were small children, we were completely dependent on our parents for survival. If a parent was hot-tempered or frequently yelled, the child became intimidated by that authoritative presence, feeling weak and insignificant. This psychological shadow persists into adulthood. When Sarah is asked for a favor by her boss or a friend, she isn't acting like a 30-year-old woman. She is acting like a trembling 5-year-old child facing a giant. The consequence is exhaustion. We meet everyone else's needs while starving our own. To change this, you must cultivate inner strength. You must dare to say goodbye to the past. You're no longer that helpless child. When you stop denying your own vulnerability and embrace it, you can finally set boundaries and say no with inner peace. When you say no, be firm and honest. Don't look for 1,000 excuses, because the more you explain, the more insecure you will feel. A truly strong adult is someone who knows how to love others and themselves at the same time. The second typical behavior is the instinct to unconditionally agree and conform to others. I once had a friend named Chloe come to stay for a few days. I asked her if she wanted an apple, and she said yes. I cut 2 plates of apples, but when I returned later, her plate was still completely full. I didn't understand why she couldn't just say she didn't want one. This is a form of compliant behavior stemming from a pleaser personality. The psychology here is self-repression. Suppressing your own desires is like placing a giant rock on top of a growing seed. Over time, your very personality changes and you lose the ability to even know what you feel. Pleasers believe that having an original opinion is dangerous. They fear that being different will lead to shame, or that they will have to carry the heavy burden of responsibility if their idea fails. They are terrified of the friction of conflict. But conflict is a natural part of life. Like night and day, the solution is learning to recognize and accept your true self. Through meditation and observing your breath, you can connect with your core. You will realize that introversion or preferring quietude is not bad or inferior. It is just who you are. When you accept yourself, you don't have to force a yes when your soul is screaming no. If someone offers you something you don't want, be honest but respectful. Say, I have a bit of a quirky habit. I only eat fruit I peel myself, so please don't be upset if I pass. This maintains your boundaries while keeping the connection. The third behavior is the intense reluctance to ask for help from anyone. The book shares a story of a woman who felt very sick one night. She wanted to ask her roommate to go buy her some medicine, but she told herself it was too late and her roommate was probably tired. She decided to just endure it. By the morning, her fever had reached 104 degrees and she had to be rushed to the hospital. Even then, she hesitated to call her mother because her mother was far away and busy. This is a clear sign of someone who doesn't dare to ask for help. This stems from a strange mix of an inferiority complex and narcissism. Narcissism here means the feeling that your pride is so important, that the world must never see you fail. If you ask for help and are rejected, your ego is shattered. Insecurity, on the other hand, tells you that you aren't worthy of love or care. This often starts in childhood when a child's achievements are minimized by their parents. As adults, these people appear strong but are hollow with self-doubt. They find it hard to feel love because they don't understand that love is actually a mutual annoyance. Love is cooking for someone when they are tired. It's leaning on someone's shoulder when you're sad. If you never ask for help, you miss out on being loved. The way out is to merge your narcissistic ego and your insecure ego into your true self. Focus on your breath to stop the spiraling thoughts of self-judgment. Don't be afraid of rejection. A rejection is just a no from another human being with their own reasons. It is not a judgment on your soul. The fourth behavior is the opposite, rushing to help others even before they ask. Many pleasers do this to gain recognition. On the surface, it looks like unconditional kindness, but deep down, it is a desperate search for validation. This often happens because, as children, these individuals only received praise when they did exactly what their parents wanted. They never learned where they ended and where others began. The consequence is that the more you help, the more drained you feel. There's a saying that a person who gives too much creates a person who is overly dependent. You attract takers who will use you and never thank you. In fact, people often react ungratefully because your help unconsciously puts you in a superior position, which hurts their ego. To stop this, you must define your boundaries by recognizing your own life lessons. Everyone has their own lessons to learn in work, lifestyle, and communication. When you do someone else's work for them, you're stealing their lesson. Stop proactively doing things for others that they can do for themselves. Stand in front of a mirror and tell yourself, "I'm good enough." Cultivate the habit of taking credit for your own successes, like exercising or learning a new skill, without needing to mention how you helped someone else. The fifth behavior is always doing what others expect, especially in intimate or family relationships. This might mean Sarah chooses a career because her parents like it, or someone tries to become the perfect spouse based on an image their partner wants. These people act without ever asking if they actually enjoy what they are doing. This stems from a fear of risk and an obsession with recognition. If things go wrong, they can say, "Well, I was just following your advice," which is a way to avoid the responsibility of being an adult. But this causes you to drift away from success. You can only truly shine in a field you love. True recognition must come from within. When you're sincere and dedicated to your own path, you naturally attract respect. You don't need to chase it. The sixth behavior is actively spreading goodwill through forced smiles and the suppression of anger. While a smile is usually good, smiling when you're actually upset or angry is a sign of deep insecurity. In the animal kingdom, primates smile when they feel threatened to say, "I am harmless. Please don't attack me." Humans do the same. We use a pleasing smile as a plea for safety. But this doesn't actually make you safe. It makes you anxious because you're placing your safety in the hands of others. If you suppress your anger, that energy doesn't go away, it turns inward and attacks your own body. Learn to build your own security. Stop laughing when you aren't happy. It's okay to be silent. It's okay to walk away if you feel disrespected. You aren't being unfriendly, you're being self-protective. The seventh behavior is the total inability to get angry. Many pleasers believe that good people never get angry. This often comes from childhood, where expressing anger resulted in being ignored, or told that the parents were too busy for their nonsense. Over time, these people lose the ability to even feel their anger, but suppressed anger turns into physical problems, like tumors or chronic illnesses in organs sensitive to emotion. Timely emotional care is vital for your health. Instead of erupting or suppressing, just accept the feeling. When you feel a spark of anger, sit still and observe it. Just acknowledging it is a form of healing. Finally, the eighth behavior is frequent self-blame. If anything goes wrong, even if it's not their fault, pleasers immediately think, "I should have done better." This is a severe form of self-reproach. Every human has a bright side and a dark side. People who blame themselves want to cut off their dark side and only show the light. They set impossible standards for themselves. But being too strict with yourself reduces your efficiency and harms your spirit. Stop judging and start being grateful for what you have accomplished, even if it's small. Gratitude leads to a sense of fulfillment that doesn't require external validation. At the end of this journey, the author introduces a comprehensive map of self-help therapy. This map is a reminder that the path to liberation from all pain lies within yourself. The 8 steps of self-therapy are your guide out of the labyrinth. Step 1 is to observe yourself. When an emotion arises, don't run from it, sit with it in meditation. Step 2 is to accept the emotion. Don't suppress your anger or guilt. Just let it be. When you accept it, it naturally begins to fade. Step 3 is to connect with resources. Don't be afraid to read books or talk to a professional when you feel weak. Step 4 is to transform your beliefs. Challenge the thought that if I say no, they will leave me. A healthy relationship is built on honesty, not compliance. Step 5 is to improve your skills. Learn to set limits and take care of your physical health. Step 6 is to accumulate experience. Put your new boundaries into practice and see how much more respect you earn. Step 7 is to truly love yourself. Appreciate your own worth and your own body. And finally, Step 8 is to find peace of mind and embody a state of tranquility where you live freely and radiate positive energy. As the philosopher Rumi once said, you have wandered through 1,000 worlds just to find yourself. I hope that today's discussion helps you stop wandering and start arriving. I wish you peace, happiness, and the incredible courage it takes to always be yourself, no matter where you go. Thank you so much for listening to this deep dive into the human heart. If you found this video helpful, and if it gave you the strength to start putting yourself first, please share it with someone else who might be walking on eggshells in their own life. Your support means everything to us. Before you go, please give this video a like to help us grow. Most importantly, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We are here every week to bring you the best lessons from the world's most influential books, helping you build a better, stronger, and more authentic version of yourself. Thank you again for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, remember, you are enough, just as you are. Take care.